Hi everyone, it's Simon here. I'm a landscape painter living in New Zealand. Welcome to my channel. And today I'm painting out in the Eyre riverbed, which is a riverbed quite close to my home. It's about 10 kilometres away from where I live, I suppose. And it's a riverbed's dry at the moment. There's no water in it. It's just a gravel, basically a gravel beach with wildflowers in it. So I'm going to set about and do a painting of the wildflowers. I went up to the spot earlier this morning and the light wasn't very good, and I thought, oh, I'll go somewhere else. Ended up doing what quite often do when you're painting on location. I drove around for 3 hours or 3.5 hours and didn't find anything else I wanted to paint, so I ended up coming back 200 kilometres later, and anyway, so I've settled on this subject, and this is the first video I've done with this new camera, so I'm trying to figure out how things work, and I'm not sure how well it's going to go, but anyway, bear with me. And being a brand new channel, I've got a lot to learn, so if you can give me a bit of grace, that would be great. I'm hoping I will upload quite a bit of content. It's my plan anyway, but anyway, we'll start with this one video, and as you can see, I'm laying in basic sketch and putting in some of the darkest dark areas first, and just kind of trying to get an idea of what I want to say about this scene. I'm very much painting an impression, trying not to paint a photograph, and just really trying to paint a colourful, joyful sort of painting of the subject in front of me. It's actually quite windy where I'm standing in the riverbed. You can see the poplar tree on the left waving around a wee bit, and I've got my easel and my tripod for the camera kind of tucked in behind my truck, a little bit out of the wind, and but you will see the canvas board, the board blow around a little bit in the wind. It's not actually a canvas board, that one. It's a primed, gesso primed board, a 6mm MDF panel, which I use quite a lot, and they're very stable and a good surface to paint on if you prepare them correctly. And I quite often I will paint both sides of the board, or I'll use shellac on the back and seal it so it doesn't allow moisture into the board. In this design I'm drawing in here today, it's you can see there is some perspective going on in the lines on the beach itself. I am drawing those and they're heading towards imaginary vanishing points on the horizon line, and this is a technique I learnt out of a Walter Foster book many years ago. He had a great book on painting seascapes, and I saw it. I think I got it from the library when I was a teenager, and I remember the incredible perspective lines he was putting in on rocks and stuff on the ocean beaches. And when you go out into nature, you can actually see these perspective lines. If you get a bit of time and you start doing a little bit of drawing and sketching, you will start to see that they're everywhere, even sometimes in the clouds in the sky. The clouds will go down towards the ground, towards vanishing points on the horizon line. So it's quite a good idea to try and figure that stuff out, because it makes your compositions much stronger. They make more sense, and you don't seem to have quite so much trouble with things not looking right, especially if you're painting water. Sometimes if you paint water and you have, for example, the beach on a river or a lake, and that beach has a curve to it, it can actually make it look like the water isn't flat, which creates a real problem. Which, obviously when you finish the painting like that and you look at it later and you think my water's not flat, well, you have to redo it, don't you? So, but one day I'll do a demonstration and show you exactly what I mean about that. just putting in a few different colours and starting to figure out what my subject's going to look like. I don't tend to draw a sketch in a subject and then stay between the lines. My philosophy is I'm a direct painter, and I like to be able to paint over the lines. And when I was first learning to paint, here's some of these beautiful flowers on the riverbed that I am painting, just wild daisies and things like that. They go for miles. This river's about, I guess, 20 kilometres long, maybe a bit longer, and those flowers go all the way up there. So, and there's no water. You can drive right up this riverbed in a four-wheel drive. So it's quite pretty. I'm kind of going with a purple in the sky because actually there is a bit of a rain clouds coming over the mountains. There is mountains at the head of this riverbed, but you can't see them. But anyway, there's the wind's blowing some clouds in towards me. It's actually going to start raining or come very close to raining before I finish. So I'm kind of racing the weather a little bit. That's why I'm going so fast. But yeah, I figured since I'm using yellows and purples on those flowers, yellows and oranges, on those flowers, I might use a bit of a complementary colour in the sky, and we'll see how that plays off against the flowers on the foreground. I guess the clouds up there were a grey, and they were slightly warm. Yeah, so we'll see how it looks anyway. It's always interesting to see what you come up with when you're painting as quickly as I am here today. I started to say earlier about when I was a young painter, in regards to drawing in your subject and then painting kind of within the lines. Quite often what used to happen is you would be painting, for example, a background mountain, and you would never paint down low enough. You would paint to what you thought was the base of the mountain, and then you would paint what was underneath it, and invariably you'd end up with a gap in between the two. The problem with this is if you haven't mixed enough colour, you've got to remix your colours and rematch those colours to repaint those areas. So I find that if you go down a little bit lower than you intend to, you can generally paint into that with the colours down below, and it just saves you a little bit of drama later on. You notice that I've been painting the sky around the trees, and the reason I do that is there's a couple of reasons really. One of them is I don't really like putting dark colours over the top of light colours if I can help it. That can cause problems because of the dark colours tend to dry a little bit faster than the light colours, and you can end up with some surface cracking. Although I am using a fast drying medium in this painting, so really all my colours will dry at the same speed. But the other thing is you can think about things a little bit differently if you like. For example, if I'm painting sky, I'm painting Eyre, and really the Eyre surrounds the trees in the background. Sometimes thinking about Eyre can be quite handy, especially if you're painting mountains, distant mountains, because you will see that there's a haze between you and the mountains, and you really have to begin to think about that haze as Eyre. Technically, you could say I'm painting the colour of the Eyre rather than say I'm painting the colour of the mountain. And what that does is it makes you think more of a, like a filter between you and the subject matter. And that can help you kind of start to discover aerial perspective and the amount of haze and things like that you do find in the landscape. I've picked up a fan brush here, and it's perhaps it was the wrong choice of brush. I did feel that while I was painting that it was a bit of a shovel, but I decided to persevere with it and just see what kind of marks I can make. And you can see I'm spinning the brush around and just touching the canvas with the corner of the brush. You can see that wind blowing things around while I'm mixing more colours, probably getting some more yellow or something like that, I think I was. So trying to mass the flowers in rather than paint individual flowers. I'm putting blocks of colour in to kind of represent, little blocks of 100 flowers rather than 1, 2 or 3. It's usually about this time in the painting that I would have a bit of a break and clean my palette down and put out some fresh colours and just have a very short rest and start to think about what I need to do to bring the painting to a finish. You can see that I'm rubbing this dark colour into the tree. I'm trying to actually force it through the background slightly to mix it into that background colour a little bit. Don't usually do that. I don't always paint the same way every day. It just depends how I feel, really. And you can see that I'm painting up from the bottom with that paintbrush. I've got it lying fairly flat to the canvas, and quite often with a very light touch you can apply your colour over the top of another colour by having a very horizontal approach with the brush, having it quite flat to the canvas and a very light touch. I don't like disturbing the undercolours, the base colours too much, and I try not to. The main thing is to try and keep your colours clean no matter what you're doing. And you'll see that when I was painting that sky, for example, I was remixing and remixing and remixing, just freshening the colour on the brush all the time, because as soon as you put it down you're picking up colours around it. And this is one of the things of painting wet on wet like I do. As a direct painter, you have to be able to manage the cleanliness of the paint. You've got to keep it clean or your painting will be destroyed because of dirty colour. And I've had that happen a few times. Some areas, some passages might be a wee bit dirty and I have to deal with them. Usually I'll scrape them off with a palette knife and readdress that area. Sometimes I'll wash the painting down in that area with some turpentine and clean it back and start that area again. You can see that I'm just trying to freshen up a few of those areas, maybe lighten some of the cloud up and just make sure that there's clean paint in there. Being very careful not to touch the other colours if I can. Couple of little branches on the beach, and there was a little bit of white. I remember putting some white flowers on shortly, and a few little bits and pieces. And that bank in the foreground I had a little bit dark. It was a shadow there when I first started, but because the cloud came in, that shadow really dissipated quite a bit. It wasn't nearly as dark, but so I lightened that area off a little bit, and there's a wee log there that putting a bit of light colour on. I've just signed my name on that painting now. And there was a couple of birds flew past earlier, so I thought I'll just plop them in. And there's a bit of wildlife flying down the river. So there we go. I think I've finished, short of a bit of a touch up in the studio. So if you like this content and you want to see more of that, you can like and subscribe, and I'd appreciate your help getting my channel off the ground. Thanks very much for watching.